We'll reconvene as the Sewer Utility District Commission. Why don't we go ahead and call the roll again?
Commissioner Stropchak?
Here.
Commissioner Flacco? Here. Commissioner Meyer?
Here.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Here.
Commissioner Bach?
Here.
Commissioner Parrish?
Here.
Commissioner Bratt?
Here.
Commissioner Gebhardt?
Here.
Commissioner Nervin?
Here. First is approval of the meeting minutes from April 14th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes carry. On to resolutions. Resolution 4291, a resolution approving an award for the following items. A, the contract for the replacement of lift station E to Stab Construction Incorporated of Marshfield, Wisconsin, in the amount of $10,695,300. And B, a contract for the construction related services to Applied Technologies of Brookfield, Wisconsin, in the amount of $812,570. And C, the reallocating of $750,000 in capital funding amongst the City of Mequon sewer utility capital accounts. Here to walk us through all that is Director Lundeen.
Happy to do so. Thank you. We are here tonight for the award of the replacement of lift station E. You may recall we purchased the property at 2010 Branch Road with the intent to build the new lift station that would allow us to decommission the existing station. The new station was identified as needing to be the existing station was identified as needing to be replaced after a condition assessment identified it not only as beyond its life cycle, but undersized for the capacity of not only the sewer shed that it serves, but the multitude of sewer sheds that ultimately go through this station. So we were able to bid the project and received good interest and are recommending award of that contract and an associated construction related services, not only for the inspection of the project, but also for owner representative services in the absence of a utility manager. And because the project was originally budgeted against separate accounts, the lift station account, the force main account, and the gravity account, we're requesting consolidation of those funding so that we can pay invoices all from the lift station account.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Parrish.
Yeah, thank you. Just trying to understand where we're at in the process for everything as it relates to what matters relating to the contingency. Or the other part is trying to understand where we're at with the easement and acquisition of those rights with the HOA. And I understand that that is not finalized. I wasn't given the opportunity to talk about this in closed door, by the way, so I think we can talk about it here, but my understanding it's not finalized. That still needs to happen. And so, I think any sort of approval tonight should be given. I don't see it though.
It is in the resolution.
I'm just missing it. I keep reading it.
This one you.
Yes.
So the contingency is paragraph 5. It talks about the mayor and city clerk authorized to direct and execute, deliver the same pending execution of associated easement and covenant documents with the Riverbend Homeowners Association. So that's the contingency that's there. In terms of where that's at, because we approved an easement that hadn't been drafted, we needed to get some exhibits and legal descriptions for those landscape easements. We now have those documents that are ready. The Homeowners Association is reviewing those, and we are tentatively hoping to schedule the signing for Thursday at this point. They're still working through the final approval of the documents on their end, but we anticipate that they won't have any issues, and Thursday will be a go.
Thank you. And I think the disconnect is I'm not seeing the part of the resolution.
It's identified under the ballot format. Now,
Thank you. And then the other item would be relating to the 10% contingency. it feels like a blank check almost to me to have. I realize it's a big project.
And it's not, but I mean, the contract execution is for the contracted amount. It's an authorized amount. There are numerous allowances within the project. For example, for the SCADA system, you may recall when we did this project, we also went through a process to update our vendor for the SCADA system. So there's an allowance in the contract for a dollar value so that we would get equitable contracts or bids, for the contract. But we're acknowledging that the actual cost of that is not yet defined because we did not yet have a vendor. So the contingency would be utilized for items like that. 10% is the standard, but if council's not, it is a big project, which can mean, and it's 15 months long. So, we anticipate that there could be some time, but if council's not comfortable with Sewer Utility District Commission is not comfortable with the, 10%, you can authorize, as long as it's enough to cover the contract award, you can authorize something different and we'll strive to stay within it. But it's not, the contract value doesn't change.
I understand that. And I think for just the purposes to inspire some conversation here, I do feel like it is a big amount. Obviously, I guess the number that I have in mind is more like half that, which is still a decent amount of money at $500,000. And if we run into any major surprises, which I guess what I'm trying to say is how could we run into $1 million of surprises when we've had all this due diligence time? I guess I'd like to be part of that discussion and have you come back after we're $500,000 over the contract amount, because something's going on. So again, I just think $1 million is a lot for this particular project. I think for a smaller project, 10% is totally appropriate, but as the project sizes increase, and I don't think there's a lot of uncertainty at this point, unless you're telling us there is uncertainty with this project, then I just think it's a large dollar amount. So.
There is some uncertainty. I mean, again, it's a 15-month project, and so some of the costs are prospective. We've already seen impacts for things such as fuel cost. All of that said, it's just a matter of process. If we're ultimately not given as much authorization and we do run into unforeseen circumstances, it will require us to stop the project in order to come back to the common council to request that authorization.
Well, that's what I just wanted to say my opinion on that, and many of my colleagues feel the same way, right?
As a matter of process, we don't spend that money unless there's a need to. So we're not committing to spending it.
That was my point on the contingency. I'm not, it's just in my experience, some organizations that have managed contingency, it's just another project to spend more money. And so what you have to do with contingency is very careful steward. Because, and say, hey, have a couple eyes looking at that so you don't spend it all and then money comes back. And my guess is that that's what you probably do.
Yeah, I mean, the contract award is not for that amount. So the contractor is not authorized for anything. They would still have to go through a change order process. They would still have to go through a request. It's staff's authorization to spend the additional funds, which again, if the dollar amount in hand is less than what is requested, it's exactly us managing that and coming back at some point if we need more than what was authorized.
Which is a request. Thank you.
Alderman Meyer.
I agree. I think I'd be more comfortable with the 5%. I don't think we would need to stop the project. I think that you would know that we're going to be exceeding that coming up. I don't think anybody else would be greatly surprised and say, hey, we need another 5,000. I think if we're pushing up to that point, I think you would come back to us prior to any sort of workshop which said we need to be done. So you keep, which you always have, if it close control and all the costs and stuff like that, you'd be well aware of something that would need to be done. So I'd be more comfortable with 5% contingency on that. That would be mine. If there's anybody else that would be involved in that.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Yeah, contingencies, we just don't want them to go too far. Alderman Parrish, how much did you say was the percentage we had in contingency?
they're recommending 10%. They're recommending 10%, and I was just throwing out 5%, which is approximately $500,000 I guess, flexibility for staff to deal with change orders.
Now we have
That's a lot of fun.
10% contingency on the Mequon road improvements funded from the TID, and it's still sitting there, almost the whole $500,000 of it. There's no one has spent it.
Our track record is being fiscally responsible, so I'm going to highlight that, that knowledge and, give you kudos in that space. I know that when we work on larger projects that, deal with some unknowns, contingencies aren't uncommon in the actual 10 to 20% range, so to have it down to 10 is actually pretty reasonable. I don't like disagreeing when we're talking about having people be tight with money, but I think there's some project flexibility that's needed in this space, and 10% to me isn't really.
Alderman Brett. Commissioner Brett, sorry.
I guess my question is, yes, one of these tenant jobs for ATI, keep the numbers the same within the contract. Should they get it?
No, again, the contract award is the $9,723,000. So that is the number that we're managing. It would only be change orders or defined cost increases that exceed the contract that we would consider, and it doesn't mean if asked that it is authorized. If you can ask anyone here, I say no much more often than I say yes. So, we would certainly be managing the cost of the project, and only again for reasonable requests. I'm not saying it would be the same system. That's just an example of when we actually get into the logistics of the hardware and software needed. If it is more than the allocation that was in the contract amount, that's an example of something that we would consider authorizing a change order for. We've done soil borings, but soil conditions are often another unforeseen circumstance. So if we had to complete some additional undercutting, this is a very large, deep, heavy structure, and we want to be sure it doesn't sink. So while we've done some due diligence, that would be an example of something else that if we started to dig and found circumstances that were not anticipated, that could render a change order.
Any other discussion? Alderman Meyer.
I'd like to make a motion to reduce that amount to 10% to 5%.
Second.
Here I was going to go do a straw poll on that, which I still may do. Straw poll on the 5% contingency versus 10%. If you want to leave it 10% as in the contract, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a majority of us. Staff's got a good track record on this. No one's going and spending contingency. We've got this same percentage of contingency on town center. We have barely spent a cent of it, I don't think. There's still $500,000 extra sitting there.
Withdraw my second.
Yeah, I think we've got a good track record. This is an area where staff excels, is keeping the project cost and not letting the contractors just ask for everything they want. I think this project's in good hands that way.
And because the project is so long, we'll be purposeful about bringing forward updates, not only about the project process, but about the fiscal status of the contracts.
Sure, why don't we do that periodically at this meeting? That'd accomplish the same purpose, I think. It might prevent an emergency meeting, some off-cycle week, some at a future date we can't anticipate. Well, I guess we need a new motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 4291 as is.
Second.
No, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Stelcheck?
Aye.
Commissioner Tolaco?
Aye.
Commissioner Myers? Commissioner Hancher,
Aye.
Commissioner Bach,
Aye.
Commissioner Parrish,
Aye.
Commissioner Bratt,
Aye.
Commissioner Gebhardt,
Aye.
Commissioner Nervin.
Aye. The ayes have it. We have no other items on this agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.